Welcome to this episode of the podcast with me, Mireia, where we explore the magic of creativity in music education. Today I'm joined by Michaela, a piano teacher and entrepreneur who shares her journey of blending imagination and music to inspire her students. Michaela talks about her creative approach to teaching, helping kids think outside the box, build confidence, and embrace the joy of learning. She also reflects on her personal path from dreaming of a music school to launching an online teaching business during the pandemic. Tune in for an inspiring conversation about the power of music, entrepreneurship, and breaking free from traditional boundaries.
There's so much research, science, and studies that show that we learn through our senses, and that's how we receive the information from the environment and how we process that information and then turn it into learning and knowledge about the world. So I'd like to use this idea to talk about art and music today, because music is an art. We welcome Michaela to the podcast today.
Hello.
Hello. How did you get started? She's a piano teacher and a very good one. And she does something really special, which is teaching online. And I never knew you could actually teach piano online. But we'll get to that in a few minutes. How did you get started? When did you discover your passion for music and piano? And what role did your parents play in this?
Hello, Mireia. I'm so glad to be here. Okay, that is a really good question, and it goes right back to when my parents first bought their house. They had a piano in it before table and chairs, and then I was born.
On the piano? No.
Thankfully not.
Good. Sorry.
But yeah, it's an instrument that's been part of my life, my entire life. My parents were very supportive. They recognised that I had an interest in the instrument and enrolled me in classes when I was 7 years old. So I also went to an amazing primary school with a lot of musical teachers in it. And after school, there were piano lessons available. So I just started taking lessons, and then I took lessons until I was 23, 24. And then I started giving lessons. So it's just something that's always been part of my life.
So your parents, did they encourage you to do it? Because I always think, when children do after schools and things like that, there's a fine line between showing them different or giving them the opportunity to explore different things and different things that we would have wanted for ourselves, and maybe I wanted to become a footballer and I couldn't. So I'm going to push my child to be the footballer that I could never be. So it's this really fine line. So what role did they play? How much do you think it came from them and how much it actually comes from you?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot myself recently, actually, and wondering, oh my goodness, because the piano has always been there since I was born, how much of this was my decision, how much of it was something that my parents did. But actually, now that I think of it, they enrolled me in my piano lessons, and then they also encouraged me. I remember my mom talking about guitar lessons and how you're the life and soul of the party if you know how to play guitar, and I think that's maybe something that she wanted to always be able to do. I did the guitar lessons, like as I said, there was a lot of music in my primary school, but it never stuck, and I think they recognized that, and then they didn't push me to continue with it. It was obvious that I went to the piano myself to practice, not always. Like there was definitely a little bit of encouragement needed there as well, but the piano was kind of my thing. And I can, as a piano teacher, I can see it with kids as well, like coming to me when it's their parents that really want to be the ones that can play the piano, and they're like, oh, I want to give this to my kid, I never had this opportunity. You can very quickly see those kids that just really, really don't want to be there.
And how would you approach that to the parents? Would you even?
Actually, so in saying that, I haven't had a kid in a long time who whose parents I need to talk to about that. And yeah, it's definitely a conversation piece. I really think it's important for me as a piano teacher to be in communication with parents and to kind of tell them about how their child is progressing through the lessons and how they can best support their child. Especially with it being online, we don't have that kind of classic interaction of the parent dropping the child off and then coming to collect their kid and having that little chit chat about what needs to be done. So I have to keep them updated through emails, and that I would approach them and just kind of encourage first with different practice routines and different methods. Myself as a piano teacher, it's part of my job to give kids, I suppose, different approaches or do different styles of learning with each different child. So I do that as well as working with the parent, and then we see after a time whether or not it's going to be a fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has changed the most for you from when you started to where you are now in relation to how you see and understand music?
So I first started teaching when I was in college in 2013, and for me it was just a way to pay my rent. I was studying music in college, so it was an easy enough kind of a job for me to do in the evenings, weekends, and I literally just taught the way that I had been taught. So I bought the same piano method books that I had used. I got my students involved in grades very, very quickly. And that is something that I just don't do anymore. When I started my online piano school, Home Tone Piano Academy in 2021, then during COVID, I really recognised that was something I just didn't want to do the same way. I had been through music college myself, kind of understood the limitations of that style of learning and the path that it brings you down, one being predominantly classical training and all of the, I suppose, the holes of education that hadn't been filled by going down that one very rigid path. So 2021, I started my online school and I wanted to just research different approaches. Now I have a very creative approach to my piano teaching, whether it be with kids or with adults, but I really try and stay clear of grades in a way. It is a good path to go down, but it's definitely something that maybe like 3 years in, 4 years in, especially with a beginner child, I really try and focus on improvising, on bringing imagination into your playing. I would call it an integrated approach or holistic approach to piano learning, where you don't focus so much on getting it perfect, that there are other happy accidents that can occur when you play.
And do you think that learning transfers then into other areas of life? What they learn from playing the piano about, perfectionism, just to let go of that idea of perfectionism and being okay with making mistakes and learning from it and changing things and everything that they learned, because it's not just learning where to put your hands and how to play a good song. There's a lot more learning behind what happens when you play piano.
Yeah, completely. And I really hope so. It's a new approach. I've been doing it now for 3 years. And it is a break from the norm, break from tradition. So I don't have definitive, answers whether it definitely does bring confidence or breaks in that perfectionism kind of tendencies, but I really think that it would help with that. And improvising, I suppose, it allows children to think on their feet and to explore their ideas, and I really, really encourage them that there's no such thing as a wrong note or a silly idea, especially when we're improvising. And I have these activities called one of them is the animal story. So we talk about the different sounds animals can create or animals make and how you would make that sound on the piano, which is kind of a difficult thing to wrap your head around at the beginning. And I get a lot of confused looks. And when we go through maybe like an elephant and it would stomp on the lower keys of the piano, because it's a big animal and it might move slowly, so the stomps might be slower, and then it might start to run, so the stomping gets faster. And we use our entire hands, maybe our arms even. Again, just kind of breaking that norm of, oh, it only has to be your fingers and your fingers have to be completely curved, and all of the rigid aspect of technique and stuff. That comes later. I would hope it encourages imagination and sparks of creativity, and that would definitely foster a sense of confidence then, yeah.
That's really interesting. And how can we use music on our daily life now as parents? How can we use the benefits of music or little activities or little games into our everyday life to support the development of our children?
Yeah, this is interesting as well. And a lot of parents, I think, struggle with, I'm not a musician. I never took music classes. I don't know how to support my child while they take piano lessons or guitar lessons. But actually it is in these small little everyday activities that you can do as a parent that would really help. So even listening to the radio and encouraging active listening. So you're tuning in, you're maybe asking them, do they know what that instrument is? Or is the music high or is the music low? Is it fast or is it slow? Even what is your favourite part of this song? And then maybe why is this your favorite part of the song? And you don't really have to have any music education or experience to be able to appreciate these answers, because like with kids it can be,
there's no right or wrong answer.
Exactly. Yeah. And music is very subjective anyways. So I think that those kind of questions encourage a sense of independent thinking, and again creating that sense of confidence in kids. The other thing is tuning in, that active listening. Can you pick out a beat? So if we can keep a beat while we're doing something, like clicking our fingers while we're chatting or clapping along, even while we're having a conversation, stomping along to different songs, that can really help with reading skills. To be able to keep a steady, smooth beat helps with smoother reading, and especially with younger kids, age 4, 5, 6, 7. That can really, really help. So that's something you can do in the car or around the house, like let's clap along to this song, let's find the beat.
And it's very regulating and soothing as well doing that, because even now I'm like...
we're finding the beat.
Yeah. So that's really, really powerful. There's a new curriculum framework in primary schools in Ireland that blends subjects together. So we're not talking about subjects anymore. We talk about areas of learning. So it puts all the arts together. So it's art, music and drama. And then we have some others. So how do we use music? How do we blend music with all of the other subjects? Because, for example, language. There's no subject without language. You can't do maths without language. You can't do music without language. You can't do anything without language, because you need to explain what you're doing and express what you're doing and how you're feeling. And so, but there's like engineering, maths, exercise, PE, well-being, environment. There's so many different areas of learning. How do we blend those with music in a way that makes sense?
So yeah, music being a language as well that you can use to express yourself and express and learn through. I have an interesting example even from my lessons yesterday. I was working with a beginner student through my no book beginner framework, where we don't go near any books at all. We don't really discuss rhythm as such. It's a lot very focused on improvising and play. And one of the activities that I use in that framework is a piano passport. So we take a trip around the world. I show them different scales, very short little scales that evoke a certain type of feeling or place. So we start in Egypt, we go to Asia, and I show them what's called the pentatonic scale. And they don't need to know that it's called a pentatonic scale, but they can usually say, oh yeah, I think that this reminds me of Asia, or maybe they might not say that, but you can tell them, and then we can learn about these countries. Yesterday I taught the the alien scale
Oh.
to one of my beginner students.
What does that sound like? Come on, show us.
I wish I had my keyboard here. But this scale in particular is 6 notes long, and pretty immediately he guessed outer space. So we had most of the lesson actually was discussing planets and what planet was the biggest, what planet was the smallest, how Pluto is now classified as a dwarf planet. Maybe then we were talking about rocket ships and stars, and again tying it into music where we were playing maybe the twinkly stars on the higher notes. The rocket was blasting off from the lower notes, moving up to the higher notes. The stars, again, going back to that twinkly sound, we were playing quite fast notes. So that's a perfect example of being able to blend this learning. So that could maybe fall under maths, science,
geography
yeah, as well, but it's all happening through music, which is really amazing. And it can be interesting trying to explain this to parents. Okay, we're not going to be learning these, like, middle C anytime soon, but we're going to be talking about aliens and outer space, and it's amazing to see how receptive that is all the same amongst parents, and they're very glad of their kid learning in that way as well, and it actually makes for a really fun and magical piano lesson experience too. So yeah,
I love that. And they're learning about the planets and the sounds and the music and countries and everything, the world, but also the confidence that it gives them, because I can see how it's really teaching them to think outside the box, to improvise, as you said, on this pod, and to just be comfortable with that.
Yeah, there's no hiding. And it's interesting, some kids you can see are less likely to lean into this than others, and that's okay, because we're all different. Then it's my job as a teacher to encourage, or bring other maybe elements into it, or give a smaller framework. Sometimes with creativity, the broader the ask, so to say, or so to speak, is, we can get a little bit stuck. So maybe we only work with 3 notes instead of 6, or we only work with the low notes instead of low and high. So it gives a little bit of, it creates a safer space. It's like asking somebody to draw a picture on a blank piece of paper. You
need a bit of guidance to get started. And it takes practice as well. The more they do it, the more comfortable they'll be with the blank page.
Yeah. So we start small and we build up, and it definitely also helps with creating confidence and helping to think outside the box, and just knowing that their opinions are valid and that they matter, and again that there's no right or wrong in this space either.
And how do you teach online? How do you do that?
Magic. Well, it was during COVID, of course, where it started. Like, it's been my dream since being in college as a classical musician to open my own music school, going back to the whole graded system and going up, becoming a classical musician through that system. I found myself in college with musician friends who jammed all the time, like sat in their living room and just played music the whole entire time. And me as a classical musician with no sheet music put in front of me, I was stuck. I was that person that couldn't start drawing my picture on the blank piece of paper. I was so worried about making a mistake. And they would come to me and be like, "Oh, but Michaela, you can sight read, like it's great," so it really became apparent that there was maybe a bridge to gap in music education, and why was this happening? So since then, it was my dream to start a music school. I never thought it was going to be online. But 2021, I started teaching my cousin in Mayo on WhatsApp video call. And then I was like, okay, we can do this properly. So a bit of help from Google, and I found actually global piano teacher communities who are teaching other piano teachers how to move their studios online, and quickly realised that we could use Zoom. I got myself some good webcams and placed one. I have an overhead camera so that I can switch between my side profile view of myself and the piano and then the overhead camera. Being able to share a screen is amazing as well, and I can play games and that with kids on just through the sharing feature. But it really, really works. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I can see no difference nearly from being there and the practicality of not having to leave the house as well. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
As a parent myself, you know, you're just running around for an hour and then you wait, you go home, what do you do? And just being in the comfort of your own home and still having all the screens so you can see what you need to see and support what you need to, where you need to be. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
And so did you ever, where did the entrepreneurial life come in? Like, because did you ever think you would be setting up your own business?
So going back to the college days and dreaming of opening my own music school, I also was dreaming about opening a guest house. That still hasn't happened, but watch this space.
Watch this space. It will have a piano.
It will.
Not a table, but a piano.
We can eat
Same thing.
So yeah, I think I used to play Monopoly as a way to train myself in business strategy. I actually think it's something that's always been in me. Yeah.
Were your parents business people?
No,
okay.
Not at all. Well, my father is a salesperson, so maybe that kind of rubbed off on me a little bit. And my mother is a nurse.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So working lots of hours and making money and, you know, selling things. And so it's part of what a business is like. And so the first step, how did you get started? How did you move from music to, what was the first thing you did to set up a business? Did really chase that dream? What was the encouragement you had? If someone was there listening now, like, I want to do this, but I'm too scared, or what would you say to that person?
I would say to just take it step by step and seek support. So one of the first things I did was actually the Kildare Leadership Programme. There was a 14-week business course. And so I enrolled in that in 2021. I actually, going back to college, we had a music and entrepreneurship module, which was really helpful. And myself and my friends, we used to run an arts collective called Common Grounds Collective. So we met every Monday evening. I was the secretary, my friend was the chairperson, and we had our agendas, our AOB, and we used to run gigs in around Maynooth, Dublin, Galway. So that, I think, really helped foster a sense of, you know, like
some structure, business structure, and
and just getting out there and doing it yourself. But I mean, to other people who may not have that, you know, may not be in college anymore, I would see what supports you have in your local community. The local enterprise offices are great. The Kildare Leadership Programme was amazing, and then just researching. So, like I said, finding that global piano teacher community was amazing.
Find your tribe, really. That's really important, isn't it?
Yeah,
to have that backup support when things are great and when things are not so great. Yeah. So important on both sides.
Yeah, and to be able to bounce ideas off. And I mean, piano teaching, I think it applies to other areas of entrepreneurship as well. It can be quite, you know, you just facing the world by yourself, kind of lonely at times. You don't have a team to back you up or to bounce ideas off. So finding that tribe to be able to do that with is really, really important.
And how important it is to use music in our everyday life. What does that do to us? To listen to music, to, you know, engage with our children through music, both at home and in the classroom. What does music do to our brain? It's like a little chemical magic spell that just calms down or brings that excitement. It's really linked with our emotions, isn't it?
Oh, completely. Yeah, and I wish I knew the chemicals involved. That's more research I need to do.
We'll call it spell. We don't need to know.
Exactly, that magic spell. I mean, it's all linked with our emotions, and I mean, you know, you're sad, you want to put on a sad song and it can help you express, and it can be quite cathartic. You know, we're happy and we want to put on a happy song. So I think really like just encouraging that with kids as well, and exploring different types of music with them can be really fun. You know, maybe go into Spotify or YouTube or something and even type in like music from Africa or music from traditional music of France. I'm just pulling these off the top of my head, but to discover other music that maybe might not be on the radio. And just to really have an open mind about it. And I think it can help us in our everyday lives in terms of an emotional front, but also just to discover new cultures and different ways of thinking. And that just because a song isn't on the top 10 charts or isn't a trending TikTok audio doesn't mean that it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for adults and then children alike, it can help foster a sense of identity. And, you know, I like this, I don't like that. And there's so I could go on. Music is amazing.
And you're setting up a choir as well?
Yes, the Good Crack Choir.
Oh,
yes. So January 2025, myself and a few friends are setting it up in Dublin. So venue to be confirmed.
Okay.
If anybody has any links, that would be greatly appreciated.
And why did you call it that?
So I was approached by a friend of mine who had set this choir up with her mom and her sister a couple of years ago, and their whole ethos being that it's just for having fun. It's like good crack. We're not, again, it's not about that perfect voice or like, we're not going to spend a long time on getting everything perfect and all, harmonized and stuff. We will maybe do a little bit of that, but yeah, just to have fun, sing some 80s disco hits and
I love it.
Have fun.
Yeah,
because music is there for us to enjoy as well. I think that's
absolutely
that is number one.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
That's a very, very good question.
And I don't have an answer.
I actually would love to have a physical school.
Yeah.
I think the online classes are amazing and serve such a purpose. I teach kids all around the country. That thing of parents not having to leave the house and get into traffic and just adding stress like that. That is such an amazing thing with online lessons. I want to keep the online lessons, but I also want to have a physical space where I can start group classes. I really, really think group piano learning is where I want to go, because it, again, like just learning the piano by yourself, it doesn't really lead to the skills maybe that would be necessary to play with others. Yeah. So ensemble playing in a group setting is something I really want to explore.
I think both could benefit from each other. You learn on your own, but then also how to play with other people and teamwork skills and all of that.
Yeah, definitely. Listening to another person, to be on the same page with them, to make sure that you're playing in time.
Yeah.
Like there's I think the benefits just kind of explode when you get into group lesson territory. So I'm excited about that, and I would love to see something like that happen.
If there was only one thing, if you bring music into your life, either professionally or not professionally, and music is going to leave something in you, it's going to change you in some shape or form, it's going to have an effect on you, what does music do to you? What's that effect that music has on you?
Music is, for me personally, and the way that I would like to think of it for other people as well, is like a friend. It sounds very cheesy, but that music is a hug. It's there for you. It can support you. It's fun. It can be silly. It can be serious. It can just make our lives so much more interesting.
I love that. So we're going to finish this and go listen to some music.
Yes.
And dance. Thank you so much, Michaela. It was brilliant. And hopefully it'll inspire others to bring more music and cheer in their lives. Thank you for listening to this episode. Don't forget to like, share and follow so you'll never miss out on upcoming episodes. See you next time.